Thank you. Appreciate that. Senator Shaheen.
Thank you. Just to follow up on that a little bit, why do you think the Sheinbaum administration has taken a different approach? Have they heard from the people of Mexico that this is something that's not acceptable anymore?
The administration started taking this very expanded activity against Mexican cartels the moment it took office on October 1st. Clearly, there was a realization from within the administration that the security situation was deteriorating dramatically and that the criminal groups, that the power of the criminal groups over society and state was turning Mexico into a criminal state. I do believe that actions by the Trump administration, such as linking tariffs to fentanyl, were probably an additional very important impetus for the Mexican government to take certain actions, such as extraditing Rafael Caro Quintero and 28 other criminal groups to the United States. I am concerned, however, that if tariffs continue to be linked to a variety of objectives, the effectiveness and encouraging cooperation against fentanyl will be diluted if Mexico will feel that other objectives can satisfy the US, or that no matter what it does, it will still face tariffs.
So you mentioned the synthetic drug revolution, and I assume you're talking mostly about fentanyl there, but in New Hampshire, where we've had a huge issue with fentanyl, we are also seeing meth come back in the way that we saw it in the 80s. Are there other drugs that you would add to that category?
Well, absolutely. And Senator Shaheen, the meth that we are seeing today in the US market and in fact globally is far more potent than the meth of the 1980s. So in 2023, the number of people in the United States who died of meth overdose was over 20,000 people. I haven't seen the numbers for 2024, but I wouldn't be surprised if the number was higher. So methamphetamine produced in Mexico from precursors sent from China and India to Mexican cartels, precursors that are mostly non-scheduled drugs, and in fact, in the case of methamphetamine, are not scheduled drugs, very basic, common chemicals used in a variety of economies, is a significant problem. Europe is starting to grapple with nitazines, a class of synthetic opioids even more potent and deadly than fentanyls. Some nitazines are starting to arrive into the United States, originating in China and in India. And other parts of the world are seeing meth as well as a variety of novel substances, such as something called pink cocaine in Latin America that has often no cocaine whatever and is the mixture of a variety of synthetic drugs.
One of the things that we've seen in New Hampshire is that, as horrible as fentanyl is, because we have antidotes and there's treatment, that people can at least get some help when they are misusing that substance. The same is not true for meth. And one of the things that we've heard from NIH is the research that's going on there to try and find some sort of a treatment for meth, and also an inoculation that helps address the whole issue of substance misuse. How important do you think that is? I should ask both of you this question. How important do you think that is, that we are able to find successful treatments in order to help people who are impacted?
Treatment is absolutely fundamental to saving lives and improving lives, enabling communities to function well and see a reduction in crime. Evidence-based treatment that in the case of opioids centers on medications such as naloxone and buprenorphine is, in my view, the predominant reason why we have some 30,000 lives in the United States saved last year.
It's certainly the reason why we've seen overdose deaths in New Hampshire go down, because we've had done a very good job of distributing Narcan so that people and law enforcement, educators, the medical profession understand what to do when they see someone who is overdosed. Do you want to add to that, Mr. Urben?
I'll just second it, that in terms of funding and resources, these narcotics that are being sent to our country are so deadly, obviously, and are impacting in such a dramatic and negative way that the private sector solutions that you spoke about, ma'am, are needed to combat this, without question.
And you talked about the financing of cartels. How has cryptocurrency affected that? And if I could ask both of you to speak to, there's legislation that has passed the Senate now, and I don't think it's gone through the House yet, but it would provide some regulations around how cryptocurrencies are used. Is that positive in terms of dealing with the drug crisis we have, or is that going to make it worse? I've heard people on both sides comment on that. Mr. Urben?
In terms of crypto being used to launder funds?
Right.
So within the last 2-3 years, crypto has taken a much more substantial role in the laundering of funds. In the first component of the laundering cycle, where you're laundering the money from the United States back to Mexico and essentially back to the Mexican cartels, from my intelligence network, there's been a dramatic increase in terms of crypto being utilized to help complete that transaction. So additional, what I'll call traditional AML controls, compliance, high risk, red flag reporting is necessary within the crypto industry. So that type of legislation is critical, ma'am.
Thank you.
I fully second that. Cryptocurrencies have become a critical tool for criminal organizations, Mexican cartels, Brazilian criminal groups such as Primero Comando de Capital, but also Chinese criminal groups that have a wide panoply of mechanisms to launder money, but are very active in the cryptocurrency space. So any kind of tough regulations that bring law enforcement oversight, that prevent misuse of these currencies for criminal purposes is fundamental.
Thank you both.
Thank you. Senator Keene.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks to the witnesses. This is very helpful. So a couple of different topics. Dr. Felbab-Brown.